Hey guys, my name is King Wabi from Because Bitcoin, and I want to thank you for tuning in to another episode from one of our many Twitter spaces. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor for the week, Nodes Protocol, and they are a Web3 financial suite that offers an innovative approach to money markets with a novel lease solution to develop the DeFi space further. And the opportunities that this can have for users is that from the borrower standpoint, the individual can access loans that are under collateralized with financing up to 150%. And that fact, from the borrower's perspective, is that they would still have access to all of their funds. So be sure to follow Noah's protocol right under the description bar. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys enjoy this episode.
All right, and we're live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Crypto World Radio. My name is Wabi, and today for our Saturday Spaces, we have the founder of CeeLo Finance behind the lovely profile that's accompanying me to co-host today. And just want to let you guys know that this space, as always, is going to be uploaded right onto our YouTube channel. And we're also joined by Grick Holt. And today we're just going to talk some shop, and we're going to get to know the founder of CeeLo Finance. We've had them on the show before, as well as a few of the other guys building on Arbitrum. Of course, we've had Tencent on, and we've had the guys from GMX, Jones DAO, all the like. You can check out that playlist up on our YouTube channel. And we're gonna run this for about 45 minutes or so. And good to have you here. We're also joined by Grick Cult. So Ibrahim, what's going on, man? Good to have you here, brother. How you feeling? Am I coming in okay? Testing, testing.
Yes, I think, yeah, I can hear you well. Yeah, pretty good. How are you guys?
I'm
Great to
doing
be
pretty
there.
good, man. Great,
Yeah,
great to talk some shop. So, given that we already discussed everything about CeeLo about a month ago, I'd like to know more about yourself as being a founder of a DeFi protocol. So, I'd love to know your backstory and how you came to build what is now known as CeeLo Finance, brother.
right. Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks to everyone. Hello, it's Saturday here. I'm calling you guys. I'm joining from Austin. It's quite hot here, so it's summer has arrived pretty early. So yeah, it's I'm one of the actually a couple of founders of Silo Finance. Personally, been in the space since 2015. Uh, I've seen it kind of change, and I think my first attempt in Web3, I've done a couple of startups before. 2016, we wanted to do an L1 for the music industry back in sunny Los Angeles. So the idea was, well, what does it take to Spotify to pay a copyright holder or an artist, whatever, instantly? So that was kind of the bigger vision. And we out of that we kind of came up with a startup. We raised some money from a couple of big investors in LA, and that was my kind of way into Web3, founding a project in Web3. Explored a couple of ideas also in the music industry, and then we came up. We basically arrived at the conclusion that was the industry was just uh, too bureaucratic, too regressive to do anything there. So we shut it down, and 20, I think 2020, 2020, 2021, we started, with the summer, with the DeFi summer, you farmed so many different tokens, and but these tokens you couldn't use them to leverage, and we started asking ourselves, well, leverage obviously through lending is a way. So, but these lending protocols do not allow these tokens to be collateral. So basically, it's very much like going to the bank and you present an asset, and they tell you we cannot accept it as collateral to give you a loan against it. Goodbye. And we asked ourselves why, and we started kind of digging into the mechanics of lending protocols. And as someone of been in the in the space or building in the space, you start with an idea. It's a problem. It's usually a personal problem, actually, and we came up with a solution. We proof of concept, and we entered the ETH Global Hackathon. It's a way to validate, just to see what other developers think of you, and the community surrounding hackathons, whether they like the idea or not. So that's kind of like my personal journey all the way until to the point to when we decided to start Silo. But personally, I've been in the space for quite a while. I've seen it evolve, uh, in to the way it is today. It's pretty exciting. We're still super early, I think. But now I think as uh, super early, yes, but now we're basically at this point where we've kind of being regulated in general, and it's gonna be it's a bit scary.
Yeah, man, I'd love to speak about that. So, with you guys, how do you guys want to set yourselves apart in the space and be a hub, really, for those individuals that seek refuge outside of like the traditional finance space? I know Gary Gensler. He wants to do all these sort of things, but not he's not like you know he's not an individual that can just put a firewall China across all the front ends of ends and things like that. So how do you see CO Finance being a hub for that seek to participate in these innovations within DeFi over the coming years?
Uh, you know, I don't know. I think we're a part of a bigger ecosystem. No matter how good you are, if that ecosystem doesn't grow, you're not gonna grow. And the ecosystem I'm talking about here is definitely the broader blockchain, and but for us is the Ethereum blockchain in specific, and of course L2 is a part of it, all the scalability being part of it. Um, I don't know. I think the best thing we can do as a project, as a community, actually, it's we're a DAO, we decentralized project today. So in general, just being patient. One of the things that you learn in DeFi is being it's basically you need to be patient because you build your product, and if it's not a bull market, you don't necessarily see the traction that you want to see. Um, and part of it is because, again, a lot of users just stop using it, the ecosystem in general. The second one, it's a matter of when you build in DeFi, specifically in decentralized finance, and for people to trust you with money, it's a you need to earn their trust, and that takes time. So for us, as a builder, there's the global, basically your the impact of the economy in general, but there's also the realities of the ecosystem you're building on or you're operating on top. And Ethereum in general, it's made a lot of progress, I would say, in terms of adoption in general, but we're still far away from being this destination for institutional money and broader mainstream use, I would say. And that will certainly limit the use of any protocol, including Silo. Uh, um, but the best thing we can do is to keep uh, just make sure that our product functions well. We're shipping product that actually people need, and just be patient, really, and try to educate users on the use cases, and just be ready for when this industry in general or the ecosystem expands. Then you were ready for the next. I don't know that we're ready for the next 100 billion. Not all of it. I mean the ecosystem in general, and then you basically take a share of that.
I'll pass it over to Grickold after I give you this question here, Chaim. Listen, man, we're still in the early stages of DeFi. It was, you know, about I'd say 2.5 years ago, give or take. No, I'm sorry, 3.5 years ago. when the TVL and DeFi wasn't even close to like 8 billion. I think the TVL was 5 actually, like 7ish around there. And we're still in the building block stage, and I spoke to, I believe it was Keon from Monad, and he said something that typically in the next wave of innovation, no, it wasn't Keon. It was actually Shango Unchained. It's this community thought leader from the Cosmos Tendermint ecosystem, and she was mentioning how usually with the next wave of innovation, the first year is proof of concept, and then the second year is beta, and then the third year it's alpha, and the fourth year everything is rolled out. So really DeFi started in about 2018, 2019. So the next Bitcoin halving cycle, I think that's when like we're gonna see, all right, like what's the proof in the pudding, all right? And I think with these Twitter spaces and going on YouTube AMAs and of course all things networking, that works, and of course founders such as yourself being active in the community. But there are some things that have happened over the last year that would deter some of the newer builders. But those that come from like previous cycles such as yourself, your class of 2013, 2014, 2015, there's always an aha moment that individuals go through that makes them want to stay in this industry. So for yourself, brother, what was your moment in like in your years in this industry that had you plant your feet to the ground and say, you know what, I'm going to stay in this industry and see things through and build? What was your moment, brother?
I think it was early 2016. The idea of that you can create value, and this value can be accessed by anyone uh, on Earth, really, any human, at least with a computer and an internet and a wallet. And that was the idea. The idea was basically, as a human, we've never had, I think we've rarely had the chance to create what we call value individually. So this value is not pushed on us by a government or an ideology. And I felt that Ethereum, back when I read the white paper, I felt that Ethereum, I didn't really understand the basically all the smart contract capabilities back then, but I felt like it was the way for us to for all of us to build, and then humans can create value and they can own it, co-own it, uh, and I thought it's a good experiment. And that's why we started in 2016, or basically towards the end of 2016, we wanted to do this music thing. But that was the aha moment for me. It's basically now we have the tools, at least theoretically, to create value. Bitcoin was the first experiment, and people created value and ascribed value to this digital thing. And people, doesn't matter if other people think it's junk or not, which we think it's valuable, and that's enough. And but now you have the means to create something similar to Bitcoin, and people can own it and operate it, co-own it and co-operate it. And that was really the kind of the holy grail for me, because I feel like we're destined as humans to become sovereign, or we control our own. We have like a tool set to control our lives, or as much as possible, to live freely, basically. And but there are still some external factors that need to be available for you to become free. And one of it is basically you own your own money, and you choose how to invest it. You choose where to own it and where to hold it, and how that's kind of the important aspect of it. You don't. It's not enough for you to be personally free or feel like you're free to create. but also you should also own the means to it, and these means are external usually.
I'll pass it over to Grit. Haim, that was a great piece of information that you shared, man. Thank you for being here and sharing some of your background, man. So I'll pass it over to Grit, who had his hand up earlier. What's going on, brother? Good to have you up here.
Hey man, yeah, I just want to obviously shout out Wabi. Thanks for having me on the cast again. It's always a great pleasure. Um, yeah, I mean, the initial kind of question was, about your comment, and I just want to say, obviously, big fan of Silo and what you guys are doing, and I totally resonate with your, let's say, ideology in terms of, liberty and owning your own money, I guess. Yeah, all of that kind of stuff. Like, I've been around the space as well, and that kind of, like, that core ethos was, a lot more prevalent, when it's kind of like, in old days, I suppose, and now in the Web3 days, I think that's kind of gone. And obviously, we're kind of approaching, a kind of precipice in terms of regulation and CBDCs. So, my kind of question is, where do you kind of see the market kind of going in that realm? Will it be fully regulated? And if so, what will that kind of look like? And, how does your, ethos of liberty fit into that future vision?
That's a really a tough question. I think as our faith in money uh, fades away, we'll have to that will create some sort of displacement. So humans, when they stop believing in something, they'll always look for something else to believe in. It's really kind of a religion. If you feel like, okay, what is the next thing, and you'll probably believe in some sort of digital asset, and that's what's really been happening very slowly though. Um, I think, and governments are actually helping big time pushing this by, you know, creating debt and spending more than earning and devaluing local currencies, and users now people in general have started to think, well, this system is not really solid, and so how do I keep the value of my money? Well, the best thing is, and we've seen it recently, by the way, if you noticed, people like kind of when uh, when this banking system happened, people immediately start buying cryptocurrency, and I'm sure they have bought gold, bought probably lots of kind of like other assets. So with the uh, digital currencies, like when government issue it, I think that would be pretty good in my opinion. Actually, I see that really positively, because in general, people will always, I think, for the next maybe 50 or 100 years, will have to. We're not yet at this maturity as humans, so we could trust ourselves. We'll always try to. So we trust governments, and if there's basically there isn't a government to trust, you probably trust thought leaders in general, and these some of them could be good, could be bad. We haven't yet, I think, as a human, reached this maturity where we could trust ourselves individually, and collectively, of course. Well, always have to be a central entity that we want to kind of give ourselves to. But yeah, I think governments. Yes, I think I think as people kind of the trust fades away in local where in the local currencies, um, then governments will start buying into the crypto assets. I think government will be forced to regulate. I don't think there is any way around it. Like in the States here, they're trying to slow down the adoption. They're trying to kind of protect the system, but really it's pathetic because it's just started and it cannot be stopped. And I really see it that way. It just started and it will never stop. It will actually grow faster, much faster, but it will be regulated, and eventually, yes, there will be stable coins, digital stable coins, where government has oversight on, and a lot of people don't really care if they're centralized, or government can seize them, or can sanction them, or can supervise them, or they. A lot of people, in my opinion, don't really um, place much value on decentralization, but at least. that may be a good step. At least there's this digital currencies, and people believe they start using them. There'll be more transparency in the system, at least. So I see that we're definitely going that direction.
Beautifully said, Silo. So I'm a big believer in that the world, the universe, God, or whatnot gives us what we need, not what we want. And you can see how DAOs were just not appropriate for where society was at the time, given the shit show that 99% of all DAOs have been. I mean, just look at the governance tokens and how they react the past like couple weeks. I mean, just look at Arbitrum and its governance. That was terribly executed. So I think the decentralization that we are all yearning for is an honor and a privilege that we're still working towards, but we definitely don't deserve.
It's a long way. If people, you know, if people know how centralized DeFi is, we'll all probably. I think it's a conspiracy of silence. Really, we all know that DeFi is not actually decentralized, or at least barely decentralized, but we all kind of like accept it because it's probably just it's a matter of
Right. I
time,
mean,
and
what is it?
hopefully we'll get one.
Less than 2 dozen wallets essentially control crypto.
Yeah, well, I mean, if ESDC for some reason depegged all the way and never restored its value, probably DeFi would have just imploded all the way because basically DeFi is built on the ESDC and USDT, and both are centralized, unfortunately. Wouldn't have obliterated the whole system, but would have probably scaled back the entire system into probably $4 or $5 billion worth of value. But yeah, 10, 12 wallets. And anyway, yeah, that's the state of decentralization, unfortunately. But, you know, it's better than using, the traditional finance.
And you were talking
I'm going to
about
bring up Marty.
go ahead, Mark. Go ahead. Well, I was gonna say he was talking about how like we need a new belief, a new religion, and it's been that religion has been credit for a while. The credit system has been our quote unquote God. Everybody believes in it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't know.
But yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead, Marty. Yielding.
Hey, I need 1 second. Can you circle back to me later?
Yeah,
All right,
it's
perfect. And
I'll raise my
according
hand when I'm
to
ready. I'll raise my hand.
Greg, go ahead, man. I saw that you were unmuting yourself, brother.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. So I have a question. You kind of mentioned earlier, something alluding to, building something that people actually need. And, I'm building something at the moment, and there's this whole question of, product market fit. And, I mean, so my kind of question is, in Web3 or crypto, how would you approach product market fit, and what are some of the kind of things you look for? And the other kind of question would be, is the market actually big enough to, to even try to address it at the moment?
right, and these two questions extremely difficult to answer, uh, and only by building. You can only answer them by building. The only thing, in my opinion, we can do while trying to answer these questions is not to delude ourselves into thinking we've made it. So I'll give you one example. A lot of projects today, DeFi projects, would stop existing if they didn't use incentives. But incentives are extremely important. It's part of the system. They are very good to use. But we shouldn't lie to ourselves into thinking, well, we have product market fit. Uh, because in so many cases you don't. It's just the incentives that keep basically you're paying users to use your product. Uh, and so one of the things I give you actually our experience with Silo. When we don't have VCs like large VCs backing us, so there isn't really a VC to park $100 million in your protocol and give this illusion of trust. Because we are a new protocol, at least. I mean, we're been on the market since August, so we're not really that new. but we still have not crossed this threshold in DeFi where people can kind of like would say like, yeah, this is I trust them 100%. We're going there. Uh, so we don't have someone to park $100 million and give this illusion like, yeah, go ahead, everyone, everyone is using them because they have money. We don't have that. But when so we've been struggling with kind of attracting capital. But when we launched on Arbitrum, without any incentives, it just we just spun some markets and we started seeing hundreds of users borrowing and lending without any incentives. Now we knew we validated this idea that you basically a lending protocol could exist, or isolated lending protocol actually serves a market. Now, to be honest with you, I still don't know how big the market is because of so many problems that in DeFi, which I mentioned one of them, which is trust. So you're building in DeFi, but honestly speaking, you wouldn't probably get more than 50 users or maybe a couple of $10,000, $50,000 of TVL, or maybe 100. If you're lucky, people love you, probably will give you a few millions, and you start kind of like seeing some action. But that shouldn't really deter you from keep building. Why? Because TVL is a vanity metric, to be honest with you. People always chase it in DeFi, but mostly token holders because they kind of link it to valuation for some reason. But in my opinion, it's important metric, but it's for founders it could be misleading. What you want to look at, you want to look at the traction. Are you giving value to 10 users? Who are they? And can you get maybe at 10,000 of them maybe at one point? If 10 users derive value from your protocol, that is actually a very healthy sign. And it could be, you know, you could have 100,000 TVL only in your protocol, but that's pretty good. And to get to the 10,000, unfortunately, you need to have been on the market for quite some time for this trust, number one. So that's really important. Two, you have to build some sort of brand. You have to be known for something. You have to actually get it out. So if you're a developer, you tend to think that, yeah, people will discover me at one point. That's not going to happen. You really need to kind of really, talk to people and get people talk about you. You have to pitch it basically. You have to sell it really. So I would say product market fit. Yes, you build like a proof of concept as soon as possible. If you're building a DeFi, do not make it upgradable. So make sure that it's really not upgradable. So it's like you're building like a phone. You send it, people buy it, but the physical aspects of that product cannot change. That's really important in DeFi. And then if you need to upgrade, you basically release V2. So give users try to make it as trustworthy as possible, and then just talk to people, and try to make sure that you're around for enough for a long time, so you have enough money, or at least you have some basically momentum to build V2 and fix all the things. We all remember Uniswap V1 was a terrible product because of you could manipulate spot prices, but V2 was much better, and V3 was extremely improved product.
I wanted to touch upon something regarding CeeLo. One thing that stands out to me about CeeLo is really the team's commitment to things like security and transparency. And it's great to see that you guys have undergone multiple audits and even have bug bounty programs and stuff like that. Would you be able to speak upon some of the other measures that Silo has taken to ensure the safety and privacy of their users' funds, and also how does the protocol balance the need for things like security and the need for accessibility for the ease of use of the users?
Yeah, and maybe there are a couple of things that I personally have learned along the way, and I would love really for people to know, whether it's about Silo or any other protocol. Uh, so the first thing is that we have this internal test. Do you trust Silo? This is what we do actually, our engineers and all of us. Do we trust Silo? Do we trust Silo with our own money? If we say no, we don't really release. It's always about that. If we say yes, we ask ourselves always, have we done everything we can do, everything humanly possible to secure the the contract before we release it? If we say yes, we release it really. But that's usually a long, long time because the engineers have always doubts. So the first thing is actually not the audit. People audits are like not enough. Audit is basically the last thing you want to rely on. And engineers, for engineers, it's irrelevant. If an engineer says, "Let me see what auditors say," then they have not done a good job. Usually, you just release, and you would think the audit is just irrelevant. It's just basically a stamp of approval, but you shouldn't rely on it. So I would say number one, internally, make sure that number one, what you're building is not upgradable. It cannot be upgraded. You live with the design flaws that you design, and I'm not talking about security flaws. I'm talking about this design flaw. Let's say you designed a house, and now the house is not well accessible, but you have to live with it until there's V2. So that's number one. Number one, basically extremely important. It has to be non-upgradable. Number two, definitely it has to be non-custodial, because if there's a centralized entity uh, that takes kind of can control funds, then that's a big problem legally, and also community doesn't really care much because they don't know. Because if they knew, they wouldn't actually use a lot of DeFi products today. But I would say just make it non-custodial. Number two. Number three, spend a lot of time on testing and formal verification, which has a lot of work to be done on the math side. And then once you've secured everything, you just release it and give it to auditors. And then auditors find something that's you you know you fix. But usually, if you've done all these steps, you should just really receive. You shouldn't get any critical vulnerabilities in the reports that you receive. But audits, honestly, if audits are auditors are you pay 150,000, 200,000, but to an auditor, but usually just it's one engineer or maybe maximum two engineers that will spend a few weeks trying to understand the protocol that took you a year to design. You know, I don't need to tell you much, but but they'll never understand it fully, really, unless like you've probably built something familiar to them. Maybe they have audited similar product. Maybe you forked compound, added a few things, and now it's easy for auditors. But most of the time, actually, just one engineer uh, walking or sifting through code lines and actually in our experience, I can tell you, the auditors missed two critical vulnerabilities that we caught with our internal audit that happened after the audit. Actually, our engineers were just doing a lot of work on formal verification that happened after the audit. The auditors did not pick those, did not actually find them. So I would say audits are not. Uh, I would look actually at formal verification and testing before I look at audit.
Yeah, you speak with great passion, sir. I love that. And I am curious to know about the decision to add XAI as a second bridge asset. I understand, it's a stablecoin on Ethereum. So, if you can speak about the exact role that XAI plays in the Silo ecosystem, and also why was it important to add this stablecoin option in particular?
Well, it's a so we call it Zai, and it was also part of an experiment. So when we designed the protocol, we designed it to be we. I don't want to go into the kind of like mechanics, but most of the protocols today look for ways to make revenue. So uh, if you can mint stablecoin that users can borrow and pay you interest, and if that scales, well, you could end up making a lot of money for the protocol. And that's why Aave today, they're working on this GHO stablecoin. You've got Curve with their Curve USD. Uh, because it just makes money. Because everyone looks at Maker with their DAI and they envy them because these guys are just making a lot of money. Now, of course, token holders see zero of it, see zero of that money, but the protocol makes money. So really, that was just the idea. It's an experiment as part of V1. So when we do V2, we have kind of more insights into what works and what doesn't work, and that's why we launched it. It was just mainly for the DAO to make revenues, and so far it's been a limited success. And I don't think it will scale for V1, but we will. It's just a separate matter. But it was actually an experiment.
Snorlax, what's going on, brother? Good to have you. Good to have you on, man. And yeah, it's good to have Aheim talk all things silo finance, and also sort of what I call lending and borrowing 2.0 on DeFi. So, Snorlax, if you want to come on in, feel free to say anything, bro, or ask a question, bro. Good to have you up.
Thanks, Bobby. I actually had to just rush to my my charger. I didn't realize I had like 1% left on my phone. I was just gonna ask one question because I always find it really pertinent as somebody who looks at crypto very I have to look at it with a very scrutinizing eye as a trader, but also as an investor as well from an optimistic perspective. So that's a long way of saying that I'm always interested in hearing about the teams that I invest in, or the teams of the people building, just as much as the actual project and the token itself. So yeah, my question for you was, what kind of distinguishes your project's team from every other that should give us, or should give me confidence, and I'm not meaning this in like an insulting way at all. I'm just like asking as somebody who's really interested in looking at projects who could potentially be obviously very successful in the future.
That's one of the aspects that missed in DeFi, because a lot of projects ended up leaving after 2021 because simply they made a lot of money and they just left. You've seen with the recent exodus from the maker as well. So who's gonna be there? That's a big question. And yes, a lot of projects they they end up leaving. So I think for us, we're just to tell you about us, we're about 13, 14 people. More than half are engineers and researchers. So we only have like really two people on the business side. So that's usually a good sign, by the way. At least that's what of the things that I like. When I look at if I look at a project and I see that I have one smart contract engineer, one front end, and the rest are business people, and it's like, okay, no, that these guys are just gonna fork a protocol and you know get rich and leave, and they're not gonna be around after 5 years. But to your question, so the biggest actually the biggest challenge has been for me as a builder in the space is to create this alignment in the team and make sure the team actually stays with the on the project. And this is extremely difficult because if you pay 500,000 for a fantastic engineer, if you can afford it first to pay it, well, someone else can pay 700,000 or a million. To be honest, these are numbers that are they are in the space. These people, just distinguished engineers, make a lot of money. And so how do you keep them really? So basically, if you cannot sell the project internally to when you recruit, and if you cannot keep everyone aligned, and you don't create you don't communicate a vision to them, well, they'll leave, and they'll leave before token holders, and then basically the project crumbles. And so far, no one has left. It's been over a year, almost a year and a half. Actually, there's a lot of excitement. So I think it is good, and we're doing good. But that's also something we learned, that we have to decentralize the project more on the development side. So that's what's going to happen with V2. So it's going to be kind of anyone will be able to build on top of it, which is great. But also get these engineers closer to the community, because also in DeFi to succeed, you need to open to basically break down those barriers. and let engineers interact with the community, because actually there's so much intelligence in the community. But the challenge is, well, how do you then ship without creating lots of distractions? Uh, these are bigger questions or bigger challenges that we're trying to kind of hopefully will solve around V2. But I say the biggest challenge right now for me actually is to make sure that the team stays around in 3 to 5 years. And that's a huge challenge, because in DeFi, just the longevity of projects are much shorter.
Marty, go ahead, brother. Good to see you up here, man.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, I also just have one question. I'll keep it short, I guess. What was it specifically that? And I don't know if the founder mentioned it earlier, but was there anything specific that attracted you to use the Arbitrum chain? I know that it's obviously been growing rapidly in terms of TVL, but was there something specific with Arbitrum that attracted you than maybe like optimism, AVAX? Because I know, for instance, like Optimism, they have that big partnership with Coinbase, for the base layer 2 solution that they're going to be building out. But yeah, what was it about Arbitrum specifically that attracted you?
And actually, just one metric, native projects building on Arbitrum in comparison to other L2s. So first of all, it had to be Ethereum for philosophical reasons. I mean, for ideological reasons, really. We're Ethereum first, but we're not like I think all these side chains can be great, but it was just had to be Ethereum uh, like a scalability solution. And then really just we looked at how many native projects are building. And when you look at native projects, meaning that they're basically strong communities, they're not just there for the token, they're strong communities. And Arbitrum, honestly, at least for today, outperforms the rest. But I think also Optimism is doing a great job. But it was really just how many native projects are building on that.
Gotcha. Awesome. And I guess any alpha you could drop for us here? I know that you recently surpassed 10 million TVL, but anything on the short-term horizon that we could all be on the lookout for?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, actually, more importantly than the 10 million, we're the largest Arbitrum lending market right now for the ARB token. But more importantly, the traction we're seeing, we have now thousands of users really use the protocol, lending and borrowing like a month, and with hundreds engaged every day. And that's actually that tells me that this is just great. It's just a matter of scalability will come, will happen automatically. Honestly, in bull markets, you'll see hundreds of projects. When Arbitrum scales to 100 billion, will scale automatically, because people they have trusted you and all. It's a matter of patience, really. An alpha next month, and hopefully in 3 weeks, we are going to start a much bigger incentive program, all through buybacks and marketing, and using some of the marketing budget. And we're going to be incentivizing a lot of markets, the deposit side in many markets on Ethereum, a few of them in Ethereum, and many of them on Arbitrum. So that is extremely important for us to kind of scale until and build some sort of a larger user base until V2. And probably the alpha is we have started working on our V2, and things looking pretty well. We don't I don't have any mandate to talk about it, but so the alpha is about our incentives starting May 13.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Well, I want to give a shout out to you guys for joining us, and also for the people that participated in the space. It's kind of dead today on CT, man. I haven't seen crypto Twitter, crypto Twitter this dull in a very long time, man. But yeah, man, it's great conversation. Kimchi, if you want to say anything, man, that was your chance, brother, before we start wrapping up.
I'm just browsing Silo Finance's docs right now. I'm new to them, so
Yeah, let me know. No. DM if you have any questions. Join our Discord. People would love to talk to you. Looking forward for your
I think I saw something.
feedback.
I think I saw something. You guys are going to be a consensus.
Yes,
Okay.
we yeah, that's actually one thing. Yeah, I actually live in Austin, so it's quite handy for me. But we're throwing a private a party. DM me or just let me know if you're in town. Would love to send you a, the private invite. Yes.
So outside of crypto, brother, man, what keeps you sane? What do you like to do outside of outside of all the tech work in the digital asset space, man?
Away from that, I'm a cyclist. Get on my bicycle on in groups and just go to the country here in Texas and in around Austin, uh, and just be on the bicycle and try to forget about that world that keeps spinning 24/7, which is extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah,
But I'm a cyclist and I do a couple of other things like volunteering and stuff like that.
good stuff, man. Good stuff. What kind of music do you enjoy, brother? And what are some of your favorite films?
I I love folk music. So I'm kind of like I don't like loud music at all for some reason. Um, you know, I I honestly have an eccentric taste in movies. I love European music, kind of films. I love art house films, basically, non the stuff that are non stream mainstream. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
man. That's some great stuff, dude. I always like to know some of the devs on a more personal level. It's always good to just hang around and all that stuff after we talk shop for a bit. But Marty, what's going on, man?
Yeah, I know that you said you're going to be wrapping up here, and you were mentioning how crypto Twitter was pretty dead right now, especially after the whole meme coin bonanza that we just saw. Like
right.
Pepe and FK Pepe, and this morning I saw two new ones. It was Popo and Gensler. Yeah, so these meme coins, man, and what's crazy is that they're launching an Arbitrum too. So it's just bringing
Nice.
more liquidity and TVL to the Arbitrum network. But yeah, I was just gonna say that next week's the last week of April, so we're about to enter that sell in May and go away. Um, and yeah, I mean, I think things are definitely going to start to heat up in the crypto space here in the next month. Just kind of looking at all the metrics. So, you know how it always goes, right? It's always quietest before the storm.
What's going on, Mr. Producer?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Pepe is getting all the attention, but don't forget about the female variation of Pepe that
Oh,
no one's
really?
talking
What is
about.
it?
I don't know. It's a female Pepe. Oh, it's Pepe G for Pepe girl. So yeah, you know,
That's
that one just
interesting.
dropped.
Yeah, why not? It's just gas was it expensive yesterday and the day before? It's still obviously expensive, but just because of those meme coins and ruin it for everyone.
Well, guys, with that being said, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor for Crypto World Radio, Nola's Protocol. I put them up here on the Nest. They're the world's first DeFi lease. And be sure to check them out. We'll be hosting them on a space relatively shortly before their mainnet. They're going to be doing a space coming up on the 24th at 2 p.m. UTC with Zaki Manyan, an OG in the crypto space that we've hosted here on the show. I believe it was just a month ago. We had them on. So check out the guys over at Nolus. They'll be rolling out their mainnet in May. And yeah, look forward to all their stuff. Check out their websites. And you should see a pretty nice banner on our YouTube stream. So shout out to Nolus. It's an honor to be partnered with a company that's that's going to take part in the new cycle of innovation. And yeah, thank you all so much for the individuals in the crowd. Thank you, Aheim, for coming on up on the stage and talking some shop with us. Just talking general, theologies and all that stuff about the digital asset space, and touching upon what are some of the things that CeeLo Finance is doing, and also answering my questions and partaking in the conversations with Grit, Kimchi, and Marty and Snorlax. Thank you all so much. Feel free to follow us here at Because Bitcoin. Every follow means the world to us. Turn on bell notifications and all that stuff. Tomorrow we'll be hosting Caldera XYZ, and they're building on the Optimism stack. So look forward to that. And we just put up our schedule for Crypto World Radio next week. Let me pull it up. So, all right, guys, here we go. I'm pulling it up right now. On Monday, the 24th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll be having Tsunami Finance, which is a pretty big DeFi protocol over on the Aptos chain. We're also going to have an NFT collection called Aptos Monkeys, one of the largest ones on Aptos. Then on Tuesday, 25th at 7 p.m. Eastern, we have the Equalizer project building on top of Phantom. Then on Wednesday, we have Saito Network. And then Thursday, we have two spaces. We have TED Talks Macro at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And then at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, we have Dimension XYZ to speak about the blockchain modularity movement and all that stuff. And then on Friday, the 28th, we have Hentai Avenger and Insert Finance to talk about all things DeFi and NFTs. So look forward to all of that, guys. Thank you all so much. Silo, Aheim, thank you for participating in this pretty calm day here on Crypto Twitter, man. I think we all deserve a little break after the meme coin madness over the last week, man. So appreciate you guys, and guys, also feel free to follow CeeLo. Aheim and Tenzin are pretty cool lads. We talk here and there throughout the week, so always nice having them up here. So wait, no, Aheim, this is your first time, right? I don't
Yeah,
think it is,
first
right?
time. It is.
Okay,
It
okay.
is. Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me, and thanks for everyone who joined.
Yeah, for sure, man. It was good to have you up. So, all right, guys, we'll be back tomorrow at 4:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you all so much. Take care, and God bless you all.
You too. Thank you so much.